fall, In Touch. With Robin Rao, Sarah Shelton with weather, and Jim Villarreal with sports. This is Action News 6 at 11.
3 people are dead tonight and 1 other is injured. Police think it could be the work of 1 man who is still on the loose. Good evening and thank you for joining us. The nightmare began this evening in Morro Bay. Jeanette Trompeter is at the scene and is standing by now with a live report. Jeanette?
That's right, Robin. I'm in Morro Bay where apparently we have a triple homicide and at least 1 injury. We also have a suspect who is still on the loose. Now, 2 of the homicides happened here at a house behind me on the 700 block of Bella Vista. We do not have a lot of details that we can release at this point, but here's what we do know and can tell you. Police were called to this house on the 700 block of Bella Vista. When they got here, they found 2 men inside shot to death. There were apparently some women inside the house at the time of the shooting, but they got out safely. Investigators say they believe the gunman intended to shoot only the men. Now, as police were investigating this shooting, they went to another location on the 200 block of South Main for an interview. Some people know the house as the Castle House. Once they got inside there, they found a 3rd victim, a male, shot to death. Police are still at both scenes right now. They're trying to piece together information and they are trying to find a suspect. Now, at this point, we have not been given the okay to give you a suspect description or a vehicle description, but we do know that the suspect had apparently made some threats to several people in Morro Bay, and they are currently just trying to find him and get him apprehended. And we will, of course, bring you updates. We're waiting for an update from the sergeant from Morro Bay Police Department, and we will give you updates throughout the newscast as we get more information.
All right, thanks, Jeanette. We are going to go back now to Jeanette Trompeter, who is live in Morro Bay with more on that triple homicide situation. Jeanette?
Thanks, Robin. We're still here at the Bella Vista address where the 2 of the homicides have taken place in this triple homicide that we've had tonight. Now, joining me now, we do have Sergeant Salyer from the Morro Bay Police Department with a little more details. Can you quickly run down what we have here with us happening here tonight?
Well, about 6:30 this afternoon, we got a report that 2 people in this residence right down here had been shot. When we got here, we found 2 subjects shot and dead. And during the course of that investigation, we went to 225 Main Street and located another subject that had been shot and killed.
Okay, how about a suspect in this case?
We are looking for a white male subject for questioning in this case. And his last name is Drake, his first name is Lynwood. We believe he's living somewhere in this area. The exact location was unknown. He is known to be driving a 1980 Datsun B210, sort of a rust colored, and that's all the information we have on the vehicle and the suspect at this time.
Okay, thanks, Sergeant. Now, of course, if you have any information that can help police in their investigation, if you see a car that matches the description or you think that there's any information you have that can help them trying to find this person, please call your local police department or you can call Crime Stoppers at 543-STOP. Back to you, Robin.
All right, thanks, Jeanette. Of course, we'll have updates if we get more information in. We will have a full report, of course, tomorrow on Action News at 6 o'clock. We will be right back. A gunman goes on a rampage through parts of San Luis Obispo County, killing 6 people, then turning the gun on himself. One of the victims is remembered as a longtime, well-known and well-loved resident of Morro Bay. And America's Vietnam veterans are remembered with a vigil in Washington, D.C.
KSBY 6. Informed, involved, in touch. With Robin Rao, Sarah Shelton with weather, and Jim Villarreal with sports. This is Action News 6 at 6.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. It is by far the worst mass murder in San Luis Obispo County history. Last night, a 42-year-old man went on a rampage of murder and assault that began at 2 homes in Morro Bay and ended this morning after more violence almost 50 miles away at 2 locations in Paso Robles. By the time Lynnwood Drake had finished, 7 people, including Drake himself, were dead. Another survived a gunshot wound and a 60-year-old woman had been severely beaten. We have team coverage tonight beginning with Jeanette Trompeter, who has been with this story since it broke early yesterday evening. Now, Jeanette, I know you have been up all night. What else can you tell us?
Yeah, Robin, it was about this time last night when we started covering the story, and as near as police can tell, it was about this time last night when the violence began. Tonight, the families and friends of 6 murder victims are searching to make sense of 11 hours of violence. Were pulled from her Morro Bay home, Judy Bunning watched. One was her longtime boyfriend, Norman Metcalf. The second, his friend Dan Cizik of Goleta. The Slains confirmed her gut feeling about a man named Lynnwood Drake.
I just knew that I didn't like this guy, and I never liked him coming around my house, and I knew that I felt that he had some kind of problem. You know, I just never felt easy around the guy.
Bunning did not want her face on camera today. She had nearly witnessed those 2 killings and the wounding of a 3rd man in the house.
I was outside, and he came up to the door. He didn't see me, and he stood at the door, so I stayed. I was in the van, so I stayed there, and I didn't recognize him at first. I didn't know who this person was. He didn't knock. He just was peeking in the door, and then I saw him standing there a few minutes.
When Metcalf's daughter and her 2 friends were leaving the house, Bunning says Drake went in and opened fire.
I saw him run out, and when I saw him run out and run around the corner, I got out of the van and ran in the house to see and try to call the police, and that's where I found my boyfriend and another guy both laying here dead.
No one knew that a 3rd victim, Andy Zatko, also lay dead a few blocks away.
Andy Zatko was taking him to court for back rent and had just found out where he lived. That's why I told the police that Andy Zatko probably knew where he was at. That's why they went to Andy's house and then found Andy dead.
Police began a massive manhunt for Drake. Their next clue came 5 hours later and miles away with shots fired on Spring Street in Paso Robles at the Oaks Card Parlor. When police arrived, the gunman had already made one quick pass through the card room, taken 3 more victims, and fled on foot. Finally, police found his rust-colored Datsun at a home on Pleasant Road outside Paso Robles. Neighbors saw it drive up the remote road around 4 this morning.
They said there's mass murder suspect up on the hill, and you might get blown away. He's already taken out 6 people, and we suggest you get dressed and drive into Paso.
Well, they began pulling reports in his name and going to every address on any report that had his name on it, and they had been to several before they came here.
By 4:30 this morning, police had the place surrounded. After a couple of phone calls inside, investigators knew the gunman had yet another potential murder victim.
He simply said that he had taken the woman hostage, that he would kill her if we attempted to make entry, and demanded that we call back in 10 minutes. And we did, and it went from there.
At 5 this morning, officers heard a shot and stormed the house.
We went inside and found that the suspect had shot himself 1 time and was alive at that time, but expired shortly thereafter.
His suicide would be the last killing in Lynnwood Drake's shooting spree, ending an episode that makes little sense to the loved ones his victims leave behind. Now here is a list of the victims of the shooting spree. Drake shot and killed Morro Bay resident Andy Zatko, Norman Metcalf, and Daniel Cizik in Morro Bay. Jeffry Sidlen also suffered a gunshot wound but is listed in good condition tonight. Drake murdered Atascadero resident David Law, Paso Robles resident Joe Garcia, and an unnamed female at the card room in Paso Robles. Her name is being withheld pending notification of next of kin. And at the final incident, Drake took 60-year-old Shandon resident Joey Morrow hostage and beat her before killing himself. She is listed in stable condition tonight at Twin Cities Community Hospital. Now, obviously, Robin, the investigation is just beginning on on this, and the investigators are in the early stages. It will take some time to complete, but we will bring updates as the information becomes available to us.
All right, thank you, Jeanette. Now, Drake's crime spree covered 11 hours and about 50 miles. Police believe, but still can't be sure, that he went first to the home of Andy Zatko and Gladys Walton on Main Street in Morro Bay. Apparently, Drake went from there to a house not far away on Bella Vista near Quintana, where he killed his next 2 victims and wounded another. Sometime after that, Drake headed north to the card room on Spring Street in Paso Robles, where 3 more people died at his hand late last night. Finally, several hours after that, Drake was found at the Pleasant Drive home outside Paso Robles, where he beat a 60-year-old woman before taking his own life. One of Drake's victims was a well-known and beloved longtime resident of Morro Bay. As our team coverage continues, Reed Coleman profiles Andy Zatko, a man whose legacy literally stands in the streets of downtown Morro Bay.
It is one of Morro Bay's most powerful attractions, the large black anchor with the marble base. It stands as a memorial to fallen sailors. Now, its creator is gone. Andy Zatko turned 80 on Halloween, but his love for life and the people he touched kept him young in everyone's eyes. People at the Morro Bay fuel dock remember Andy well and his never-ending desire to help.
As far as I know, he was the greatest person I had met in a long time. He took care of Gladys, Walton. He'd bring us donuts every time they went to the senior citizens meeting. He'd bring us big bags of donuts, give us the tomatoes from his garden. He raised tomatoes and garlic.
He took us in when we didn't have any place to keep our boat, and let us work on the boat, and showed us a lot of respect and kindness.
Andy lived in a house called the Castle. He and his companion Gladys Walton shared a love of art and the sea and each other. Gladys herself was a star of silent movies. People in Morro Bay say without Andy, Gladys wouldn't have made it past her 90 years. His death is more than a shock. Andy Zatko was part of the heartbeat of Morro Bay. His passing brings those he left behind a little closer together and makes the story of his sailor's memorial all that more powerful.
Anytime a fisherman died, he put their name on the plaque of the anchor that's there at the Embarcadero, and he donated the anchor to the city. I'm not sure where he found it, but he was a diver, and he had found a lot of anchors, and he donated that one anchor that's in the Embarcadero there, and he also put a fisherman, every time they died, his name on that plaque, so hopefully his name will go on it.
Reed Coleman, KSBY 6 Action News.
Funeral arrangements are pending for Mr. Zatko.